what are these executive DBA programs? Is generally the way that I view them. And there's a couple of schools across the country, across the world. I think in some places it's a little bit more common than others in different countries and stuff. And it's really this kind of in-between thing between a PhD degree, which is really research focused, and an MBA, which is a lot more, or an executive MBA degree, which is a lot more sort of practice oriented. So in a PhD, you're going to be really focused on doing sort of long-term research and developing a stream of research such that you can become a tenure track professor and become, an assistant professor, an associate professor, and just do the regular sort of university track in a business school, which that's what I did. That's my track, and it worked out well for me. I'm still really excited about that kind of thing. There is the MBA, the executive MBA, which is a lot of more kind of group work in sort of figuring out how to apply some of the stuff that we understand, and just learning how to be a manager, basically. But then there is this kind of third degree, which is an executive DBA or an executive PhD, which is kind of an in-between thing where you're learning about research, and it's much more research focused. But you're going to get, the end goal is not for you to actually go and to become a professor, right? So the goal is to apply this knowledge in the workplace or get a good understanding, maybe some analytical skills, and get a good understanding of how to do research and what are the current theories and ideas that are out there. So I think this is really cool, and there's a lot of advantages with this. The first one, an advantage with an executive PhD or DBA program, it really allows you to understand the world much more differently. And so this is the same thing that I personally experienced with a PhD, and you're going to get a lot of that overlap. You're going to do a lot of coursework. Is generally, so the key difference between a PhD and a DBA, from my view, and it might differ for other people. And by the way, so Harvard's DBA, it's weird. It's much more like a PhD. They're training you to become a professor. Some schools, a few schools, will have that, and it kind of varies in terms of what they're getting. And you can also do very similar stuff in a PhD or a DBA program. So a PhD, some PhDs are really, what you're getting trained in is maybe not at you're not doing the same degree as some others, and it just depends on kind of the philosophy and the style and all sorts of different things at the different schools, right? So, but in general, what you're going to get for the first couple of years is a lot of coursework in both of them, and you're going to understand the world much more differently. Some programs might even pair you together with the PhD students, because then instead of having 3 students in a organizational theory class, you're going to have like 6, right? So it just depends, and there's lots of variability between all of them and how they're sort of set up. And it's really nice because you get this understanding of the world that you would never expect, right? So you're really getting pushed to new ideas, and you really don't understand it until you dig into it a little bit more rigorously. So an executive DBA program is also still quite intensive in terms of a research program, right? But the expectation in terms of what the project you're going to work on is going to be a little bit less. It might be like a master's thesis kind of a level, right? So it would be, the goal is just to get you do the research and then kind of get a feel for that, rather than having to have an A-level or a couple of A-level quality journal articles by the time you're done to get out and actually sort of that you can go on the job market in a business school. So the goal is just to give you a feel for what that is, and so you can get out, and so you'll have an understanding of what research means and how difficult it is. It is generally a very research-oriented or rigorous kind of degree, but the level of what they're getting you to do, because they just have different outcomes, right? So in a business school, to get a business school job, to become an assistant professor, you really need, 1, 2, 3, 4 publications, depending on what kind of field you're in. And those publications are generally really difficult to get. And so that's really the difference. They're going to sort of divide you into what they want you to get going forward, and sort of how much time it's going to take to get those kind of things done, right? So you have a really good sense of research still, but it's just a requirement is not going to be the same. It's just because the market demands it. It's not necessarily that there is, real differences in ability and things like that, but it's just the market demands that. And so that's going to be really cool. The other thing that's really cool is the class sizes are going to be really small. In most doctoral programs, the class sizes are small. It doesn't matter what kind of program you're in. And so you're going to get a lot more interaction with professors, and you can sort of talk to them and get insight from their, what they've been working on, and, they might push you a little bit more. You're just going to get a lot more interaction going forward, which is really cool to do that. So currently at my school, they don't have them, and I'm happy that they don't have them. But at the same time, I know that there's other schools out there that do have these sort of executive doctoral programs that are really rigorous and really fun. You get this kind of interaction as well. So the fourth thing is that you can apply a lot of this stuff that you learn to your own organization. So hopefully a lot of you will be coming from your own organization, and you'll be learning this kind of stuff and learning the rigor of this, and then you'll learn about doing research. And you might be able to do, maybe you're in human resources, for example, and you can apply some of the selection mechanisms that you might talk about within a program like that. Or if you're in a strategy, so my field is strategy and innovation, you might learn some stuff about that, and then maybe apply different metrics that you might learn, for example, or maybe different frameworks, and realize that there is that the R&D takes a lot of time, or you get like insights from another industry or something like that, and you could bring it into your organization, which is really fun and exciting to be able to do.